However, doesn't really matter. Right, so let's give this a go. Let's give this a go. I'll see. I've got some dreadfully scrawled notes. I always start off neat, and then, of course, you have to expand, don't you? You change your mind on things, you correct mistakes. And before you know it, you don't know where you're at. I normally don't talk about serial killers on this channel, not because they're not absolutely terrifying and fascinating, maybe partly because, by the way, tell me if you can't hear me over this air conditioning and this light. What am I going to do with that? Not that they're not fascinating, but they love the attention, part of what they do. Hi, Johnny. Part of why they do what they do. Johnny, can you hear the air conditioning? It's right above my head. I can switch it off. Okay, can you hear the aircon? Or you can only hear me? Hi, this account. Has anyone been following, or do you know a little bit about Rex Human? The sound is fine, so okay, so I might leave the air conditioner on until someone complains about it or something. So, oh, you can hear both. It's probably very loud. Oh well, never mind. So, I wasn't ever intending on talking about the Long Island serial killer situation, you know, who it might be, other than if it's Rex Herman, who else it might be. This account's followed a little bit. It's a very dense situation, very dynamic situation. It's something that's happened over the long term, and oh god, this light is so bright. I'm highly sensitive, as you probably realize, and I get really upset by bright light. It's really hard to find lighting that suits. I might just sit here in the dim, and it's a bit gentler on the old craters. So, all right. When situations happen over a long period of time, they're very complicated because there's a lot of characters, you know, a lot of actors, as they might say. I'll switch it on if it does get warm again. It's just in Brisbane in summer, it's often just so hot, so still, and the humidity builds and builds, and then we get a storm and it relieves. But it's really dreadful weather for people to try and do anything in, or think. You can nearly not think straight. So Long Island. Well, Long Island is an area that is east of New York, and it's a connected piece of land. Part of it where the Long Island serial killer, you know, these poor victims that are dubbed his victims, or these people's victims, part of where part of that coast, that easterly side of Long Island, there's sort of the main part of the island, and then there's a part that you sort of come out on these highways to follow along this chain of just, marshy bits of land, and it goes up to a bit called Fire Island, and but Gilgo Beach and everything. So it's just this strip of land that you leave that sort of mainland of Long Island to go out to. There's several little bits of highways. There's state parks there. It's a big fishing area. There are still some little townships, but some very isolated, gated communities, one of which we will talk about, named Oak Beach. It's not somewhere that is lit up and patrolled by police officers from the main part of Long Island. Often it's just so desolate, really. I don't know what the populations are, but it's sparse, and there's no lighting along what's called the Ocean Parkway. And over the years, many young women and a young man and a little female toddler have been found along there, all sort of clustered together within the vicinity of a place called Gilgo Beach. Not all bodies being intact. There's probably a lot of bodies there. Hi, Francesca. Hi, Kit. Have you guys, Kit and Fran, have you been following Lisk? So this desolate strip of land, for anybody that had ever been there, if you ever thought, I'm going to get rid of a body, you would bear that in mind, wouldn't you? It would be somewhere you would know that you would go. And people living out in some of these little communities, maybe they're retired, but maybe they're just trying to escape from life, or be, sort of Greta Garbo. They want to be left alone, and they might be living out there because they want a degree of privacy. And then, of course, people on Long Island, the mainland, out further, you've got the swanky Hamptons, and out to, is it Montauk? And there's other places there that you would have heard of, because I think the Amityville Horror is on the mainland of Long Island. This account said they've read the book Lost Girls this year, and Lost Girls is about Shannan Gilbert, who is essentially the woman who found the Gilgo 4 through her disappearance, and the search for her. That's how the Gilgo, who's known as the Gilgo 4, I will talk about them in a personable way. They are human beings, but sometimes we just abbreviate, don't we, for keeping things ticking along. So it's a really incredible story. Again, lots of extremely powerful, tragic, charismatic, and haunted characters. So not just Shannan Gilbert herself, but her family, and there's tragedy in her family extending beyond her murder, maybe not directly related, but it would have had such an effect on her family's lives. She had 3 sisters, and one sister, who I believe was living with schizophrenia, had been in a psychiatric unit and had been released from that a few months later, before she's invited her mother Marie over to her home, where she has bludgeoned and stabbed her to death. And her mother Marie and her sisters, particularly a sister called Cherie, they've been really advocating for justice for Shannan, with the help of this divisive character, a lawyer called John Ray, who I'm in two minds about pretty much everybody, except of course the victims, maybe what's happened to them, but I am in so many minds about all these people, John Ray included. Is John Ray, is he a Baldwin type character? Is he truly as heroic and altruistic as he makes out? Is he megalomaniac? Is he manipulative and Machiavellian? I'm so split. This account's mentioning the corruption in this early case, and of course he's ex-chief. Now he's probably in jail. I think James Burke. He was getting into a lot of trouble with, I think, Tom Spota, who was ex-DA, and really corrupt law enforcement that people think have pushed away the FBI and have subdued the search for victims and to solve the crimes, these murders. Burke was found with quite terrible materials in his car, and he was sprung by somebody, and I think then did he beat them up or something? Mari's death was shocking alone. John Ray, the lawyer, that odd doctor, now Dr Hackett, I'm going to talk about him. It is exactly this account. It is such a weird cast of characters, and I think what's drawn me in, though I can't say finally, I've been watching, but sometimes you just don't, sometimes it's best just not even to really dip your toe if you're someone like me that will just go jump in, and then you get obsessed in a way, or it messes with you, or you get angry. Personally, sometimes I just get angry at comments that people make and things like this. It's completely irrational, probably. But Asa has really dragged me in because Asa Ellerup is the second wife of Rex Heuermann. She's in the process of divorcing him. She did this during the search of her home that she shared with Rex Heuermann in Masa PQ. I can't remember. What the fuck is it called again? Masa PQ Park. Anyway, so maybe I should try and put some structure on this. So, sippity sip. So, this is Nexpa, tonic water, pear and jasmine with some sort of posh lemon that I can't read. It's delicious with vodka. Is it? So, let's just, probably everybody knows about this, but so I don't know whether I should just talk about the points that I want to, or just do a run through. And I feel like to respect the people that Rex Heuermann is charged with murdering. He's up on 3 counts of first-degree murder, and he's the prime suspect in the 4th girl's murder. Let's just do a run through, and I'll try not to be too long, although when I recorded this yesterday, it did take an hour. So let's not do that. So yes, it is yummy kit. It's just got the right amount of fizz, the right amount of bitter, hint of floral. La-di-da. Don't have my glasses on and it's very dim. All right, so serious face. So I'm just going to call him Rex, not because I feel friendly towards the big old oaf. It's just easier. So He's actually been under investigation since March 2022, and he was arrested July 13th this year. So there it is. Okay, yep. So Massapequa. All right. So Long Island, Massapequa Park. Rex grew up there with his brother Craig, his father Theo, mother Dolores. She's still alive. She's 93. She lives in Virginia. He bought the house from his mother in 1994 when he sort of revamped his architectural business and sort of angled it towards a consultancy to other architecture firms to do with helping them with planning and permits and things like this. Lots of nitty-gritty, and it's very complicated in New York with all the old buildings, all the old codes. And he rather fancied himself as a mover and shaker and someone with sway in the city, and that's how he wanted his staff to think of him at the firm. He bought the house off his parents. It's in sort of a modest area. It's kind of in the type of area that my parents lived in for 30 years before they built their own home out on the harbour. But I guess there's several ways of looking at that, and I think some people would say, look, he wanted to hold on to something of his father's, or he, they bring something psychological into it. But I think there's a lot to be said for when your family does own real estate somewhere like Long Island, you don't just get rid of that willy-nilly. And the land itself, whether the home itself is valuable, the land itself is, and one day might be more so, and it's a bit of a nest egg. So we bought it for $174,000. I don't think he's really gotten a great return on his money because he has not nurtured this home. He hasn't cared for this home. There's been no thought or upkeep, no attention, no sense of creating an environment to nestle anybody in. And he certainly doesn't seem to be nurturing the people in his life as well. All of his energies go towards his desires, his proclivities, his true passions, and they're not his family. Although he did have his daughter, who's 26, her name's Victoria, he did have her working for his RHC firm in Manhattan as maybe on reception. I'm not sure that she was trained in anything for him, but sorry, is this going to take too long? Anyway, his father was an aerospace engineer, and Theo died in 1975 when Rex was around 11 or 12 years old. And what should I go to next? I guess let's talk about his first marriage. He was married to Elizabeth Ryan for 3 years. So 1990 to 1993, they didn't have any children. And wouldn't you like to think that Elizabeth made a really, she had a lucky escape, right? Fran's at work but listening. Yep, no worries, Fran. Cool. I don't want to leap around, but maybe I should just read out in the order of my notes. So yeah, he was married to Elizabeth, and she's rather quiet. I haven't seen any interviews of her. I don't blame her. I'm sure it's not going to be long maybe before someone hunts her down, or something comes of that. But I think she had a lucky break. So I think he first set up in architecture in 1987 in Midtown Manhattan. changed the consultancy the same year he bought the house, and commuted from Massapequa Park into Manhattan every day pretty much. Once he's on the train, which is 5 minutes from the home, it's an hour on the train. And I can imagine he was quite the fixture, and quite the fixture in Manhattan too. And yeah, he does seem to have quite the reputation in the building where he rented premises. So, as I said, he was under investigation since March 2022, and a lot of the reasons why are the green Chevy. It's a green Chevrolet Avalanche that he held on to ever since he'd had this since one of the victims, alleged victim of his, Amber Lynn, oh my goodness, Costello, went missing. He still owned the vehicle. He was tracked because of phone calls that he was making, and he was arrested. You probably all know this. I'm just maybe saying this for people that don't know it anyway and that listen later. I'm so sorry. Should I just move on? Anyway, no, he was arrested in Midtown. I'll just forget you there. He was arrested in Midtown Manhattan on the street because he was known to have a lot of guns, and actually he had a lot more than they realized. But he did have licenses for, I think, 91 guns, so they weren't wanting to raid him at his house. That could have turned really nasty. So they've gotten him on the street, and at the very same time, they've raided the home, and they have had search warrants at the ready. All up, they've had, 300 subpoenas and search warrants. They found over 280 guns in the home, in the little room that at first maybe everybody was talking about as this soundproof basement. There is a basement, but it's like a cellar. I mean, you can't tell me a cellar isn't somewhat soundproofed just by its very nature. A lot of these guns were historic. They'd been used in world wars, and a lot of them were illegal in his state. There were, hunting rifles, revolvers, all sorts of things, Uzis, Tommies, semi-automatics, and they were from all around the world, from decades, from the 1860s upwards. Russian weapons, Swiss, Swedish, Belgium, France, some USA. He's an aficionado of weapons. But this isn't how these poor girls died. But he has his passions, and he loved hunting, and he would go hunting a lot. And there was said to be this air about him of preparedness, in that sense of you should be prepared for anything. Yes, and these calls, we're going to talk about some of those, who they were made to, and some of the things that he said, because he is a sick motherfucker. So the grand jury, being investigated for nearly a year, the grand jury decide to indict, is that the term, and next month he's arrested. He's charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, and he's the prime suspect for one other murder. So this isn't the only home he owns. He owns a home in South Carolina, in Las Vegas. His brother Craig lives in South Carolina and has some land there. And Ray was, he'd talk about, he'd move down there, retire there onto this land where he could hunt. Makes you wonder what sort of hunting, he would do, right? Now, these, how do I say? Let's just quickly say there is DNA. The DNA on victims has degraded quite a bit. So with newer and newer testing, even since 2010, era, there are great leaps in what they can do. So mitochondrial DNA testing has linked both Rex and Asa Ellerup, his wife, through DNA to the bodies, and this has helped them to go ahead and arrest Rex. We'll talk about the hairs, but this green truck also, with regards to the disappearance of Lynn Costello, her and her sister and maybe boyfriends, maybe one boyfriend of one, I'm not sure, but two guys, they wanted to earn some money and they decided to set up an escort service. And then one of the friends, Amber's friend, decided, oh, hey, wouldn't it be luck if we ripped these Johns off? So we will, they can book you, they can come around and you can take them money before start the transaction, and I will burst in and say, what the fuck is going on here? And the John will skedaddle. And so you don't have to do anything and we'll just keep ticking over the money. Great, right? Rip people off in a dangerous industry, because, that is already an industry where you're putting yourself into all sorts of dangers. And it wasn't a great scheme, right? But let's just say they weren't thinking straight. And one of these guys was able to describe this green Chevy truck, which would park outside Amber's home. I think he'd seen it on more than one occasion, and then there was occasion when they decided to try and rip him off. And, describing the appearance of a hulking man, he said, he matched the witness description of the man believed to be the killer, a large, white, ogre-like male in his mid-40s, around 6'4" to 6'4" to 6'6" tall, with dark, bushy hair and big oval-style 1970s type eyeglasses. Okay, so describing Rex to a T and his car to a T was something about first edition or first something, like the car. If they'd just run cars on Long Island, fitting that green Chevy, and then matched up the owner to, the very indiscreet Rex, hey, perhaps something would have happened earlier. So this is something that really irks investigators. I think profiler Pat Brown's talked about that. It really pisses her off that they had a really great lead when Amber went missing, and no one gave a McFuck about it, whether that's, because of the corrupt law enforcement at the time. Who's to say, right? Now, talking about these phone calls and this account, I'm going to put my first theory about this case that I don't think anyone's talked about. Now, so Amber Lynn Costello, so she was found December 11th, 2010. She was 27. She was from West Babylon, so that's a little bit further up. Sorry, I keep shaking the sewing table. A little further up Long Island from Massapequa Park, not too far. It's 10 miles from Gilgo. She was working as a sex worker who would advertise on Craigslist. These particular deaths are sometimes known as the Craigslist murders. Amber was a heroin addict, and so on September the 2nd, 2010, she was offered $1,500. I think this is an MO of Rex, to offer these particularly large sums of monies to women. We'll talk about the other money in other cases soon. But I think that's just part of the MO when he's planning on killing. It's just part of his sick, modus operandi. She was not reported missing initially by her family because they got calls saying that because they thought that she was living in a residential rehabilitation centre. So she wasn't reported as missing. Now, I don't know what the story is with the friends not reporting her missing, but her family didn't. And I thought I read it or heard it as her family and friends. And yes, she was an addict and she was wanting to get off the gear. But this is really strange. Why did they think this? She wasn't. She was living in Babylon and she was working as a sex worker most of the time, trying to pull a fast one and hoping that out of shame or embarrassment or whatever, people would let her get away with it. But, not a very good business plan, right? I mean, repeat customage, repeat clientele is part of business. So it was really sad about Amber because she'd been abused as a 6-year-old by a neighbor and started serious drug use quite early in her teens. She sort of got off on a really bad roll, and then with these friends that she had, they weren't really helping her along, but I guess it was just a lifestyle that she was in. But anywho, okay, think about this. Why the delay? Because she's told she was that people were told she was in a rehab. It's, family that need to report someone missing. Was it Dr. Hackett? Did Dr. Hackett have anything to do with this? And call her family like he did with Shannan Gilbert? I don't know, that little detail really struck me because, Dr. Hackett would say things like he runs a home for wayward girls and that, he runs rehabs and things like that. He was, I have a feeling he's just a sick puppy. He was a Long Island busybody. Dr. Hackett was, not sure quite what he was trained in, but he was a first responder on the island, and he would listen all hours of day and night to the police radio, and anything at all that he heard, any little bit of action, he would turn up and stick his little beaky in, whether it was wanted or not. Yeah, Peter Hackett. But that really struck me. However, a hair was on her body. It was Asa's hair. And could this somehow just be because she'd had contact with Rex Heuermann before and Peter Hackett was involved in her disappearance? Is Rex Heuermann not a lone wolf? There is some investigation work out there that does link Hackett to pedophile priest around the Oak Beach area, to Hackett and Heuermann. So I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting. Let's just quickly talk about the physicality of these victims. Amber was 4'11". She only weighed 100 pounds. So all of the Gilgo 4 were pretty tiny. One girl was 5'5", but Melissa Bartholomew, she was 24 years old. She was from Erie County. She disappeared July the 12th, 2009. She was 4'10", 95 pounds. She was found December 11th, 2010. She was a sex worker advertising on Craigslist. Ace's hair was also on her body. Amber's family, I don't know if they received calls. That's just something I'm keeping in the back of my mind. Melissa Bartholomew, her family did receive calls. She had a sister, Amanda, and Amanda was rung, they're alleging, by Rex for 5 weeks from Melissa's cell phone. And he would ask her things like, are you a whore like your sister? Rex Heuermann also did obsessional searches on Melissa Bartholomew's family and sister and disappearance. Megan Waterman, 22 years old, from Maine, but she was up staying at a hotel, in Hapauge, 15 miles from Gilgo. She was found December the 13th, 2010. She's a mother. She's a mother of a child, of one child. She's 5'5". There were hairs from Rex and I think from Asa on her head, on the leg area, in the burlap, but on the leg area, and Asa's hair on the tape. All of these girls were bound. One girl was bound with 3 belts, and I've got a theory about that, kind of a theory, and or tape. So yeah, just terrible. And then, so those are the 3, Megan, Melissa, and Amber, that Rex is charged with 1st-degree murder and 2nd-degree murder of, and he's the prime suspect in the murder of Maureen Brainard Barnes. She's 25 years old. She's a Craigslist advertising sex worker. $900 had been deposited in her bank. She'd only just returned, I think this is who had just returned to sex work because she had received an eviction notice. She was overdue on her mortgage, and, with a little child to support and everything, she's probably feeling pretty damn desperate. So she's only just returned to sex work, and she was found with a belt around her legs that had either HM or WH. And as I said, so she was found December 11th, 2010, and she was missing from June 2007. So these girls went missing over the course of 3 years. These 4 were found in a couple of days, when actually an officer and his dog Blue, they were out in that Gilgo Beach area, sort of on a training exercise, but to unofficially look for Shannan Gilbert. And instead he's found one of the girls and then just found the rest of the girls. Eventually police went back and searched further and found more bodies, more people. So it's just really crazy. Now, this belt, could William's father's Theo have a father whose initial started with W and it's WH and it is Heuermann's belt? Possibly. What if it's Dr. Hackett's belt? His father was Walter. It's just a thought. Okay, it's just a thought about Hackett. I know, we honestly need to focus. It's like with everything, you need to focus on the positive, you need to focus on the wins, or you need to, when you start focusing on positive things, seeing the good in people and things, you do see more of that in life. I think when we follow true crime here and we see, people sometimes just being fallible, sometimes just being human, sometimes being complete and utter wankers, or just being ineffectual or unprofessional or just under par, or just, yeah, or, you know, corrupt and manipulative and things, you know, it brings you down because it seems like, oh, this is everywhere. This is in every pocket of the world. It's not. And yeah, that's a good point, you know. Here's someone that is really caring. He hasn't given up months after Shannan's 911 call from Oak Beach. Maybe we should talk quickly about that. It has been released. The resigned Commissioner Harrison did make sure that the 911 call was released. See, Delphi, see, Flora, people can do these sorts of things. So, Shannan Gilbert, again, a sex worker, advertising in Craigslist. I think she was coming out from Manhattan, actually. And she had gone out to a call in the wee hours of the morning, actually, from New York out to not just Long Island, but out to the Gilgo Beach Strip, this place called Oak Beach, sort of on the more northerly end of this very scary strip of land. She'd been called out to a job to a client called James Brewer. It was a first-time client for her. She had a guy driving her, Mike Pack, P-A-K, and, you know, next thing, at 4:51 in the morning, she's dialing 911. Now, let's just imagine how isolated this place is, because otherwise you just want to jump through the screen and throttle this 911 person. I don't think she manages it very well regardless. What it sounds like is maybe they just can't pinpoint anyone's call from out there. You know how often you hear 911 calls, you're listening to it. I don't know if you guys listen to these, but they're kind of pinpointing, they're trying to get the person to agree, you know, to say where they are, because it's a kind of, you know, are making sure. But pretty much from the cell phone these days, they can tell where you are. I don't know what the GPS service was like there, why they couldn't do the same for Shannan, but she's rung up and she's saying they're going to kill me. And she gets more and more panicked. This is a 23-minute call. She's on a house that is in this, it's a gated community. It's just a couple of streets there. She's down on one little end, the isolated little end of this community owned by James Brewer, who wasn't very liked in this little community because he threw parties, and they knew exactly what was going on in this home. And she is trying to explain where she is. She has no idea. All she knows is she's in Long Island. She doesn't know if it's Suffolk County or Nassau County, and she can't give the address. And you can hear the guys, you know, Mike, they're saying that they want her out of the house. They just want to get her in the car. Mike Pack wants to take her home, but she is freaking out. Something has set her off. Something has frightened her, and she thinks they're going to kill her. I'm unsure as to whether maybe James Brewer has gone upstairs and somebody else has turned up. But regardless, she's now lost trust of her driver, which would have been her means of escape, to hop in the car and just to be taken back to New York City, to Manhattan. Instead, she gets out of the house and she runs just away from the beach area and up and then along. She runs a few houses down. She goes to this house, I think it's Gus. Can't read anything here, so is it Coletti? Is it Gus Coletti? Anyway, she knocks on the door. Now this guy answers and he's going, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt yourself. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember if she gets in his house and then leaves again. She runs away again. She sort of goes round the block down towards the coast, and now she's at the far end of that stretch that she started out at. She's banging on the door, and now she's screaming because Mike Pack, for the first little bit, has been following her in the black SUV. And she bangs on this door. A lady, Barbara, who is unimpressed, won't let her in the house. Meanwhile, Coletti is calling 911. So guess what? 911 have got the address of a distressed girl. They've got the description of a car, but it doesn't seem like they have decided to go out there. Is this right, this account? Because 911, from what I recollect, did not turn up that night. So Barbara won't let her in, and Barbara's on 911. Oh no, I'm not going to let her in. I've got my sick mummy here, and she's all very reserved, and it's all very distasteful to her, this poor girl. So if you can imagine, she's gone from, if this is the coast, this is this little community, she starts here, she runs up, she goes to a house here, and then she's a house here, and over here this is all brush, and there's just a channel cut where so they can get in to spray for mosquitoes and things, and this is the ocean, and then there's the parkway, and then this is all the just swamp. And she's found just here these, her jeans, lipstick, her purse, I think, and then her body, just so close to where she disappeared. But maybe they just had no idea where she took off from. Perhaps they thought, did this Mike person end up getting her and taking her home? She really was hysterical. She did sound drugged. She sounded like drugs sort of kicked in at a certain point. But I don't know what set her off, right? Was it the arrival of another person at the house? And that wasn't what she bargained for. But Mike's saying anyway in the background that he wants her to get in the car. And Brewer's saying he wants her to leave her house. At first she wouldn't leave his house. And we'll talk about a similar incident to this just a few months earlier that John Ray says is vetted and says was Shannan, and involves another bathroom situation, and they alleged that it was to do with Rex Heuermann. So the odd thing about this is that Hackett has taken it upon himself to call Cherie Gilbert, the sister, one of the three sisters of Shannan, and say, look, I've given her some drugs, she's all right. I run a rehab facility for girls. It was just so odd. It's as if to buy time or to make people think, well, she's left, she's gone far away now. But is this just him inserting himself because he inserts himself into everything? It's so super weird. It's just so weird. He has no reason to do that, right? Unless, did Hackett turn up at Brewer's house? And did he give her drugs? Because she did sound drugged. Why, though, would men, a man or men, kill a woman and leave her nearby when they know that woman made an hysterical 23-minute phone call to 911? They didn't know what other neighbours might have called 911. Coletti had called 911. And why risk it? Why risk murder? And when Shannan was found, it was ruled that she died of natural causes, maybe drowning. I mean, possibly hypothermia. Did she get cold and take her clothes off? John Ray, the attorney that's been representing Gilbert's family for over a decade, I believe, he hired an examiner of his own who concluded something about the thyroid bone. John Ray misrepresents this, I believe. He says that, well, we have concluded that Shannan was strangled. So you think, oh, something to do with the bone in the neck. Right, okay, so broken thyroid bone. Well, no, it had a hole in it. Could have been from a tumor, could have been from something. This account says, if her death was in fact an accident, it was not in vain, as her death uncovered all the other women, the man, the child out there. Yeah, she is absolutely pivotal to it all. She was bipolar, was she? That is just so, yeah, I didn't know that. I haven't watched these documentaries or read books or anything. But what Shannan did was draw attention to this area, right? So, you've got, I'm always doing this to you, right? Imagine this picture of the frangipani that my friend drew in 2016, apparently. She died of cancer a few years ago, not my friend that just died of cancer. But imagine if this is Long Island and this is the strip that goes along on the ocean side, and this is a bit of swamp, and then this is sort of the mainland. But, you come out, here's Massapequa Park, Babylon, Farmingdale, where Asa Ellerup grew up, close to Rex Heuermann growing up. Ocean Parkway, Fire Island, this goes out to nothing, then you come back around and the Hamptons are up sort of here, but, you've got Gilgo Beach, Oak Beach, Fire Island, Tobay Beach is somewhere here. It's just so desolate, but she brought the spotlight here. Now, people say it's been a mob, dumping ground, and I would believe it. Just like the Nevada desert, right? I'm so sorry, and thank you everybody for very kind words and everything. It's just very, it's a lot to cope with, right? When you've been in the situation. But it's just, there's so many things that you want to say, to tell someone, and they're not there, or, and you never, ever, ever get to say any word to them ever again. Hear their voice, hear their opinion, tell them something, have a laugh, share something, private jokes that only you get, So, the Shannan Gilbert, I mean, that's her legacy, isn't it? That's her legacy. And it's Nathan, what's his name? Nathan Dean or something. I put it on my community page. I linked his video so that when I talk about him, you guys can just find his video. He's just started uploading, and he's uploading some investigative I've lost my words, videos about this case, and he talks about a priest, the doctor, and Rex, right? So the architect, the priest, and the doctor, and how they might be related. And it is quite interesting because the priest had a home at Oak Beach. He could have heard this kerfuffle. I don't know about that, but I just think it's curious. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, someone tell me, but I think Peter Hackett's father's name was Walter. If I'm mistaken, I would love to know. I need to know, because otherwise then I am labouring under a misapprehension. We don't like to do that in true crime. It's 100% the wrong thing to do. Before you move on with speculation and even with your wilder theories, you need to be making sure that you're going from fact. What often with schizophrenia and probably in mania and everything like that, I don't know, but what you do is you make all these little, things don't link together, but you think they do, and it's important not to think like that. Don't move forward with something without having that solid base, right? It's funny too, because people are talking about, I don't know if, I'm sure it goes on. I know it goes on, but I think sometimes people want to Hollywoodize situations, and in a way it gives it a certain glamour, but in a sick way, noir way. But there is speculation, was Rex, are these snuff films, or what is being filmed here, for example? What's Rex involved in? But I don't think that we should forget Rex was using Google, just like the majority of us, all right? So he wasn't using the dark web to look for his 10-year-old and 12-year-old CSAM, or to look up other killers, like, is it Roth? And he made a lot of Google searches, and he was obsessed about following the Long Island serial killer case. He was looking up other serial killers. He was looking up famous serial killers. And Dr. John of Hedden, he was saying, this was months ago now, but he was talking about, there's a criminal behavior textbook, and it just sort of boiled down the characteristics of serial killers to 4 major things. And this is control, domination, thrill-seeking, and media attention. Probably more media attention, right, in the modern age, but certainly notoriety would have been something that serial killers gone by would have wanted. And yeah, he's looking up, most prolific and all of this sort of thing. I think it's so, it's really fascinating, because dominance and maybe that media attention were 2 very big draw cards for him. Certainly thrill-seeking, if you can believe the testimony of the woman who is her name Nikki. She said that she was picked, she met Rex as a date 10 years ago. She got a bad vibe and decided not to go with him in his car after meeting him at a restaurant, having a chat, and he started to want to talk about the Long Island serial killer. And she enjoyed true crime, but she thought that he was just way too intense about it. She got a very bad feeling, wouldn't go, but what did she say? Something about, did she get the impression that his life was mundane or something like that? But these lust killings, sexual with the desire to dominate. They have no conscience, probably have multi-paraphilias. And yeah, there's this just sick mix of humiliation and domination. Rex was bullied. Apparently that's something that a lot of serial killers have in their childhoods. But yeah, that was interesting. And how do they sort of choose the victims, or what might they have in common? So their victimology, I guess. And these characteristics might be availability, so that opportunity, the availability just to look up Craigslist and practically put in an order for someone who is petite and young, has a certain look, so there's that opportunity. They're vulnerable, so viewing them as expendable and that nobody will look for them. This is how Nikki described Rex as describing these victims. This is how we viewed them. And desirability, so I guess that would be the type, the young. And this is the other thing I was thinking of about, his searches. Yeah, he was talking about some details in a way that spooked her. Yeah, she said there was something about maybe the questions he was asking or the look on his face. One thing I remember she said was something in his face was like he was reliving it when he was talking to her, which is, gives you the shivers, doesn't it? One thing I was thinking of when I saw that list, mainly, looking for CSAM for 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, maybe 14-year-olds, amongst all these other searches, and, a lot of it was for sadistic material. But is that why he's specifically looking for, his victims to be 4'11" and very diminutive at 95 pounds? Yeah, and was it Lauren of Hidden True Crime that said to her, Nikki, yeah, do you think that when he got you into the car, if you'd gotten in the car, would he have said to you, so we've been talking about the Long Island serial killer, well, it's me. Can you just imagine how dark his eyes would go? Can you imagine his face? It was one thing that I was thinking about when you see the photographs that he was taking of himself, so the selfies, he's probably in his office, in his Manhattan office toilet, and it's Cold Truth here. Hi, how are you? Oh, that was you that said that. I haven't got my eyeglasses on and I'm feeling particularly 52 today. So in the bathroom where he's taking this photo, can you see how he's trying to look? He's trying to take that predatory look off his face. He's trying to look innocuous. He's trying to look, what was the word that I used for myself? Sorry. Yeah, benign. And he's trying to soften his features, but doesn't he naturally have such an intense face? He's terrifying. His physicality is terrifying. He's 6'4". He's a mountain of a person. And does he just like these girls to be small because they are like children? But from what we know so far, he's not actually involving himself with children, right? But does he just like the idea that he can overpower them? I mean, don't you find that weird that his searches are for the 10 and 12-year-old girls? you know, I just thought that was really, really interesting. And just imagine, the abject horror of the way that his face would look when he's abusing, when he's killing. You know, people talk about eyes going black, right? We've probably all got someone in our life or in our pasts, hopefully, that when that switch flips, they just go black. Yeah. So Massapequa Mayor David Pearl wants to buy the home and destroy the home. Asa's heard her neighbours talking about this. Asa Ellerup, she's not happy. She knows what they're saying. She's very distressed. She is very distressed about her destroyed house, and she's being quite the little Klingon to this house, isn't she? Does that pique anybody's interest? Does that Massapequa anybody's interest? It does me. And maybe we can just go and start with my Asa pages and then come back to these pages. So sorry, this is boring too bad. But thank you for being here, because you make it not boring for me. It's nice. So who is Asa Ellerup? Well, we have heard a lot about her. That's not true. And who knows Asa Ellerup? Well, I can tell you that probably not one soul on earth knows Asa Ellerup like Rex Heuermann knows Asa Ellerup. I bet they know each other like they know their hometown, and like they know the back of their own hands. That's what I think. And I think they're the two people in the world that knows each other, unless, of course, we do have Rex. This account has seen those eyes, and Cold Truth has seen those eyes, and video calls with someone called Anthea Dibia. And there's no words, right? But you know that all empathy is gone. And certainly when you're a serial killer, as Dr. John says, there is no conscience. There is no empathy. And we will talk further about this to do with Michelle Moore and, the daughter, is that her name? The daughter of the Happy Face Killer. So she reminds me in a way of Kerry Ross, and how she's still holding on to some of these memories that feel good to have. So it's probably it's just a minefield psychologically, because these women, when they were young girls, spent what they thought was special time with their fathers. All the while their fathers are taking their daughters and getting some sick pleasure out of being there, spending time with their offspring in the places where they murder and near they murder. Near where they murder. Anywho, so Asa Ellerup, so she's Rex's age. Rex has just turned 60. There's been a little bit of, because there's been some reports Rex was born in February, but I do believe it's September, and I think he's just turned 16. I think Asa might be 1 year older. She's a petite woman, isn't she? And when she was young, I'm sure she was quite slim, quite under the 100 pounds. But where did they meet? Wouldn't you just love to know where they met? Personal ad, swingers club, the La Trapeze in Manhattan. Some other way. He met Elizabeth Ryan in a business that I think he used to do work for or be involved with. And I don't think he met Asa that way. When he met Asa, she would have already had her son Christopher, His name's Christopher Sheridan. Her maiden name, I believe, is Ellerup. So I'm not sure. She must have been married to someone Sheridan. She does, Francesca, because she's really caught in a vortex, right? She thinks she can help because she thinks she has specific knowledge. She can, if only she could, have the right people listen to her, take her seriously, go to these places and, where she's researched and go in and see if they can find other victims. But at the same time, she's being used in the most betraying way by her father to this day, for whatever fame and fortune and attention he can get. I'm sure of it, right? So she's still calling him Dad, and that's, yeah, but I mean, that's her prerogative, but she should probably stop that. So here I get to another little theory. They're just tiny weeny, they're just little theories, aren't they? They're not theories. They're just sort of ideas. So I don't know how long they were together, but again, going to John Ray, the lawyer, who says he has vetted this witness, and witness number 2, we'll call her in regards to Shannan. This witness number 1 is relating to a murdered woman called Karen Vergada. She's slightly older, but possibly she wasn't chosen specifically by Rex, but in February 1996, this is the story that this witness tells, and that John Ray vetted, and I am on the fence with John Ray, right? But because he does have motive, whether it's altruistic motive or not, okay? We have to admit it. So, get on with it, Debbie. Sorry. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I'll tell this story. Okay, so the witness, she and her policeman boyfriend at the time, you probably know the story anyway, right? But at the time, there was a club, La Trapeze. It was in Manhattan, not 10 minutes walk from Rex's office. And people would advertise private parties and things, right? And that's gotten in touch with Rex. There was a notice saying, Massapequa Park, I want people to come back to my house and party. And witness 1, policeman boyfriend, they picked up a sex worker called Karen Vergada to go with them out to Long Island. And when Karen was first, propositioned about it and agreeing to going, she was very nervous, because she's going a long way out of the city, out to Long Island, to someone's house. Of course, she didn't know what she was walking into, but they're saying, hey, we're just swingers and we just need another person and we're going to a party. But she started relaxing when she learned that the boyfriend was a policeman. They get out there, Rex and Asa are there, and who went downstairs? Anyway, they do fool around. Asa's participating a little bit, but she doesn't want to have sex. Now, her lawyer is saying, well, no, she was pregnant at the time. But that kind of adds credence to the story because if she's in her first trimester, not the second, where you might be feeling a little more like it, but if she's in her first trimester and if she is morning sick, for example, who knows? But the story is, this is the story I'm not telling very well. The story is a little bit is going on. They're having a good night, but Asa's there, but she doesn't fully participate. And then when witness one and the boyfriend leave, that night Rex has been in his backyard. He's been doing something that the neighbors say he used to do a lot, as well as he used to cut wood in the front of the lawn quite intimidatingly. He used to sit on his front deck and watch TV out there, quite I don't know. He was lighting a fire that night. He started a fire and stoked this fire. And when witness one left with her boyfriend, Rex was chasing this woman around naked. Maybe she was outside in the backyard or something. And the woman expressed concern. And the boyfriend said, don't be concerned. It's just a game. Does that remind you of the movie Disturbia? Has anybody seen that with Shia LaBeouf and that very famous actor plays the bad guy? But it's about the serial killer next door, and there's a scene just like that. Karen was found on Fire Island. Her torso, legs were found on Fire Island, so that's the area that's just north of that Oak Beach. And then later, it was later when her skull and some teeth were found, that's what enabled her to be identified. She wasn't identified until so much later. But that's right, it's so unnerving. And Tobey Beach, Blue Point, okay. And there's a lot of it that sort of merges in together, isn't it? But John Ray's convinced, he's vetted this witness. He says, yes, that's the man, and this is the woman, the missing woman. This is the picture, this was her, and this was the man. The other witness story that John Ray said he has vetted and involves Rex Heuermann and one of the victims is, sorry, it's getting so hot. I know you're going to hear this in a minute, is just a few months before Shannan Gilbert went to her final call out at Brewers at Oak Beach, she was called out to a hotel which has now been demolished. It's been deregulated or demolished, destroyed, whatever, because it was known as a trafficking hotel. But the taxi cab dispatcher got a call from Shannan and put it through to a cab driver, Witness 2. Witness 2 was maybe a bank teller by day and driving a cab by night. And while pigs fly, yeah, you have to wonder, don't you? I mean, she's quite concerned that they've torn this house upside down. I imagine they've been very thorough, that they would have found something. I mean, it could be that really, even though she grew up in the area just a few miles away, that she's got no childhood friends that she could stay with. She didn't go further up to Massachusetts way, where I think her brother is and her father Flores is. She didn't go just a mile or two nearby to her sister, who's a doctor. She didn't go and stay with her. Maybe she didn't want to bring the press, around to hound her father. Maybe was she already estranged with her sister? I don't know. Her sister says she hasn't heard from her at all. But she chose to sleepy buys in her car, and she's got a dog. Her daughter is an adult. Her son's 33. But he must live in. We're going to talk about her holidays, so we'll talk about that. But it is extremely intriguing, pigs fly. But anywho, what the fuck was I talking about? witness to. The cab driver is told to go round to this hotel that was known for sex trafficking. She's told that there's a girl that's gone into the bathroom. She's hysterical. She says she's in danger. She wants the cabbie to go and park in the car park, flash her lights, beep her horns, and the girl's going to come running out. Okay? So she's flashing her lights. She's beeping her horn. Nothing's happening at first, right? And then a man comes out, this huge man, and he's covering his face with his arms like that, and he comes out and he drives away in a truck of some sort. And then out comes running this girl, and she describes who she thinks is Shannan Gilbert. She describes, this very particular feature of a droopy eye. I think it's a very attractive feature, and it's probably quite a trademark or something. I mean, very recognizable. And she's convinced that this is who she saw. So she's convinced that she saw Rex with this frightened girl, Shannan. And the story that Shannan told when she hopped into the cab was that she was offered a lot of money to be there. She was offered $1,000, and she turned up. Soon after, she's given this envelope. She's told it's the $1,000, and something just makes her feel funny, and I think she goes into the bathroom and she opens the envelope, and it's just paper. It's just cut up paper, and she's hysterical, right? So she's not just thinking, oh, I'm getting ripped off. She's thinking, oh, I'm going to get murdered. So clearly, though, it's not the MO of this murderer to kill in hotel rooms. So was this Rex, if he's this killer? I don't know. It doesn't seem like the MO. Would he try to convince her to just come somewhere in the car? Then why meet at a motel? Why not meet at a restaurant like supposedly he did with Nikki? So, I know people's MO change, but I feel like he'd been doing things for quite a while. Who knows how many victims this person has. I imagine it's quite a few. If I was a gambler, I'd put money on it. So does this just say that Shannan gets spooked very easily? If this was Shannan and it was not Rex? And again, here she is, hysterical, losing her mind, needing to be rescued, locking herself in a bathroom. There's so much to ponder, right? There's always so many decisions to make about what is the most likely thing. Oh, yeah. Right, but people, in true crime, that people come forward with information for all sorts of reasons, right, as witnesses, and they've got knowledge, they're sources that, now they've been vetted, right, and so even though John Ray, I wouldn't want to cast aspersions on his career, but and I love the sartorial style that he has. I love his Akubra hats. There's a lot of professionals that dress like this, architects and lawyers and things like that. Quite dandy and quite, and I love it. I love it to bits. And I don't think that it's right that because someone is expressive like that, that they should have their professionalism, their integrity, their morals undermined. You know, but the fact of the matter is, for anything there are sides. Okay, there's a side. There's never just a side for the truth, and it's just hard to believe, isn't it? Hey, AK, how are you? I try to follow all the stuffs that you're putting out, but my brain doesn't compute. But I know, I won't get off track, but I'm trying to follow what you're laying down, but I just hope it all comes out in the wash properly, you know what I mean? Yeah. So Shannan could well have a history, and then some people are saying, well, maybe, you know, this is what spooked her, is that someone else has turned up at Brewer's home, and was it Rex Human, and she has, yeah. But I don't know, but it's kind of, isn't it funny? This is kind of just life, how you realize that the world is small. And I don't know, I mean, this is where sometimes we might fall down, right? Because something is it's circumstance, doesn't mean it's circumstantial evidence that goes in, or is it just, sometimes things are quinky dinks and things meld together because that's the lifestyle that people are living, and they are more likely to have, you know, there's connectors in life. This is what they worked out about that Kevin Bacon principle when they've tested things in studies. Hey, you know, people all around America try and get mail to this one person, and they'll choose a person in maybe a faculty university in Boston, and there's these connectors usually along the way that are connected somehow to a great deal of people. They're just that type of person, and these things happen in all sorts of layers of our social lives. And yeah, sometimes I really think that's just what it is. Where were we? So Asa, because this is why I wanted to do this live as it was. There's a lot that people say about Asa. They think that she was born in Iceland. Now, I actually don't believe it. I think she was born in New York. She may have come here as a child, but I don't think so. But she has sympathizers that will strongly suggest in many comment sections that Asa, she was an immigrant. She probably barely spoke English, and then she's just got tied up with this controlling man. Look, she speaks with a New York accent. She was educated in Farmingdale. She grew up miles from Rex, and yeah, she was educated there, and now she lives in Massapequa Park, as she has done for 27 years, since she married Rex in April 1996. Mel, what happened in April 1996? 6 degrees, I know. And then sometimes it's an incestuous too, isn't it? Oh, Fran's enjoying it much. Oh, thank you, Fran. Fran's listening in while she's getting stuff done, so good. I'm glad we can just all sit here and have a chat. It's nice. I hope you don't mind me drinking vodka but you can probably tell. But, you know, I've been in a tough time lately, and it's just helping me get on board with this, doing this. Because I piped out yesterday, I jumped on, started talking, and then I threw a wobbly and hopped off. In April 1996, this is when Karen's torso and legs were found. Now, of course, we didn't know, the world didn't know who this was, but did Asa? Asa seems to like making contracts. She seems to like making deals. Okay. Yeah, Karen. And so, let's just say John Ray, he of the cool Akubra, he's got a better collection than I have, but maybe we should just be it's too damn hot, of course, because it's dare felt. But that's how it's truly, it's waterproof. Cobra. Yeah. Sorry. Stay focused. So, witness one has said that she is convinced that it's Karen in February 1996. Karen is reported missing in February 1996. Also, her partial remains are found. I know they're not identified till later, but here we have Asa. She's not with Mr. Sheridan anymore, whomever he is, and she has a special needs son, Christopher, who's 6 years old by this time. She's possibly pregnant. Her own lawyer is trying to assert this as if it's poo-pooing John Ray's idea. Well, if you're a swinger, and you go, the idea is swap, and if Asa's pregnant, and if maybe she's said to Rex, I'm pregnant, I feel sick, maybe then this is why witness one and policeman boyfriend have been asked to bring along Karen. I don't know. See, I don't normally do wild speculation, although a lot of people probably think I do. Yeah, so, the swapping. So, Rex Heuermann, we don't know to what degree Asa, his wife, has taken part, but my theory is that somehow they've been involved. This has been, I would like to know, has that relationship ever been normal? Has sex ever been normal? And when I say normal, I mean, has it ever been straight? I feel like there is, I feel like there is this transactional relationship here, and however they met, I'm feeling, and this is wrong in crime, I'm feeling Asa might not have a lot of respect for sex workers either. She might despise them a little, disrespect them, look down on them. She's not the sex worker. She was the girlfriend. She saw an opportunity. She's the wife, right? She's the wife. There's property. She's got a son. She's carrying a baby. And if Nikki, truth to be told, Rex wasn't very happy with this life eventually. But this would be quite a long way after 1996, but I'm just in here, I don't know, it could be, I don't like to speculate based on things that we don't know of fact, but if we just believe John Ray for a little moment that all the vetting that he says that he's done is believable, reliable, Asa seems to be an opportunist, and it doesn't seem to matter at the expense of anybody else, because do you think it's in good taste what she has done to make a peacock 50 G unit. Is it 50 cents? Is it 50 unit? Whoever 50 Cent's production company, whatever that's called, in Peacock, $1 million. Now they just buy artifacts. They don't buy interviews. They don't buy, anything other than artifacts. That's how it's done legally. They're going to follow her during the course of Rex Heuermann's trial, and she hadn't turned up for anything. She hadn't been to visit him in jail. She hadn't been to court. Suddenly she's at Riverhead, making an appearance. She's chauffeured in a silver Mercedes. They've strapped a bra on her, brushed her hair. I mean, look, this poor woman is living in a traumatic vortex right now. So this is something that I defended, actually. Daria, I want to say. Holy shit, what's her name? Let's not go anywhere else other than this. So sorry. Oh my God, I'm losing it. Don't lose it. But I just want to get this point across that she had other options. We don't know what equity is in other property that he owns. We don't know how controlling he is. But if I'm right about their relationship, he's signed this divorce paper straight away. He's not making anything difficult. There may not be much equity in these other properties, but there could have been some way for her to survive. We'll talk about more in this GoFundMe in 1 second, but it's just such bad taste. Night, Johnny. Oh, no, you're a hat type. You're the hat type. You just got to go for it. You just got to work out your body type. So do you need something that is, slightly softer brim, stiffer, etc., So it'll be ongoing. But guess what? She might not benefit from this at all. So it's Robert Durst, who was in a documentary, and he's wired up and he makes a confession in the bathroom, and he's in jail for murder of a wife many decades ago. It's just, I can understand someone wanting to protect themselves. She's a woman that, for all we know, the rug's just been pulled out from under her feet, and suddenly everything's topsy-turvy. I usually try to have compassion, but something isn't sitting right, and I think she could be a very sick person, but I don't know. But, okay, maybe she feels like she needs to secure a future because she's got a son that's going to need support, and she's now got her daughter's unemployed now, and she's going to lose her home. The home won't have much value, and maybe when but she's clinging so close to it. She was sleeping in her car nearby, and even though it's absolutely been destroyed by this 2-week search, she's in this house where, if this is how the hair got on the bodies out at Gilbert Beach, these women were in her home. We know Rex likes to bring people back to the house. I can't think now. I feel like I know about reports of other visitors to this home. But she's happy to stay there. Could you? even the Ramseys never returned to their home on 15th Avenue in Boulder. Exotic dancing is also sex work. Each area carries a different risk. I think she might be, well, psychologically unwell, you know. And I, you know, in the very least, okay, she's possibly, because she's the wife of a person who's controlling, domineering, low self-esteem, and clearly can be violent, clearly didn't nurture the family. I mean, what sort of relationship have they had, right? We don't know. We don't know what sort of mask Rex has had even at home. But I just feel like they know each other. I can't explain it. And like there's some sort of it's unspoken now because it's been spoken before, agreement that and it's just weird how she's still at the home. She might be so traumatized, and she's trauma bonded to Rex, and now maybe she's trauma bonding to Massapequa. But let's talk about her holidays that she's taken. Rex is probably OCD. And he's a collector, and he's definitely just channeling his energies into various things. And a lot of energies going into his fantasy world and his other life, which is kind of his real life. Oh no, right? Wasn't that fascinating? I'm really glad I got to see that as well. But, okay, so even though here is on the bodies of 3 victims, not just in the burlap, but on their body and about, under some tape, in their hair. And I mean, she's got lots of hair, and hair gets everywhere, right? And okay, maybe her children didn't live in the home anymore, because when she travelled, it was said that, her and Victoria travelled. No mention of Christopher. So was he staying at a home? Was he at his father's house? Why didn't he go? Because Rex would have been home alone, feeling like he can now bring these dates to his house in Massapequa Park. How, and is it just transfer from his car, but onto the burlap and onto the tape and onto a belt? A belt which maybe, I'm wondering, is it Rex's? I mean, it probably is, but I don't know, there could be other things going on here. We don't know when she went. We don't know how long these girls were missing for, what date they actually died. It's just around the time of them being gone. I would like to know what other holidays. Oh, thanks, AK. I appreciate it, Kurt. I'll see you later. I'd like to know what other holidays she took. When? And yeah, there could be a hoarding situation. Hoarding can have different levels to it. And just, I don't know if it was a hoarding situation that they had. And certainly the police did make a mess. But there did just seem to be a lot of stuff, right? And you know, he hadn't painted the outside of his house. It didn't look like it had been just kept up. I'm not saying it has to be modernized in any way, but he wasn't spending his time doing that. You know, probably spent an exorbitant amount of time in Manhattan and then hunting. So where his brother is, and he'd talk about going hunting upstate. And what was there for Asa? But was she getting just what she wanted? She had marriage, a means of support. It's interesting where she was going when she was traveling, right? So when Melissa went missing, Melissa Bartholomew, she went missing July 12, 2009. So that's when Asa went to Iceland. Well, I guess that's something. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're a pair then, aren't you? It is good that you can get rid of stuff. Yeah. It's really takes so many forms, doesn't it, OCD? And hoarding, yeah, would be OCD, and it's a big part of being a serial killer, apparently. But to go to Iceland, it is actually a very difficult place to get to. It's isolated, and is there only one airline or maybe two that fly there? And you don't just book that and disappear overnight. So that would have been something in advance. She's going to visit relatives. When Megan went missing, so Megan, she was the girl that had come up from Maine. She was staying on Long Island. Maybe had come up to work there or something for a period of time. And she had Asa's hair on the tape. Asa had been to Maryland. Is Maryland Virginia or is Maryland a state? And then when Amber went missing, so Amber, where there had been a very good tip with the green Chevrolet Avalanche, she was just in New Jersey. She wasn't very far away, so Maryland's a state. Because I thought, see, one bit of info I thought I had was she was away in Virginia, and I thought, okay, so she's visiting Rex's family. Yeah. Does he send her away? You know how, if you followed the case, Chad Daybell sent Tammy away. I've had a dream. You've got to go. I've had a vision. You've got to go. You've got to go and see your grandma, see your sister. Sent her away after one attempt on her life failed. Sent her away. When she came back, she got poisoned. But in the meantime, while she was away, he was burying his Laurie Vallow's children in his backyard. So, look, Tammy could be an absolute innocent victim here, or she could be, you know, quite a traumatized, victimized woman, a woman that is suffering domestic abuse, you know, emotional abuse, financial abuse. This is true. And hair is everywhere, and it's on everything. And whatever Rex is using, if he's gotten it from the house, if it's him, it's going to be on, it could go to be on these girls. But I just find it interesting. It's only Asa's hair. His daughter has long hair. His daughter works with him. His daughter's in the house. The son's in the house. The son would be in the house all the time. They're very close. They've got a black dog. Why is it just us here? Am I looking too much into that? Because I'm the first one to go, you've got to learn to say in true crime, you've got to learn to say, actually, so what? So what? You know, I don't think we do that enough. So I had wondered about Hackett. Dr. Hackett has called it as a fact. He was trying to deny it, and then when his phone records were subpoenaed, he had to admit it. It was discovered that he had been ringing Shannan's sister Cherie. So I wondered, did he ring Amber's family? Has this been investigated? Why were they thinking that she was in some sort of residential rehab? You know, she was a drug user. She did want to get off, but she wasn't in a residential rehab. She was living in, I think it was Babylon, wasn't she? And I just thought that was interesting. I thought the belt was interesting then because if Hackett's involved in something, maybe he's involved in other murders, maybe the belt is actually Walter Hackett, because who is WH? You know, we've got people saying, oh, it's HM, it stands for Hewer Man. I mean, people don't do that when they write. I mean, you know, if my surname was Humanimal, I wouldn't put HA or HM, would I? It's H. So, I don't know. And his father was Theo, probably a Theodore. I don't know what his grandfather was. So it's interesting. And then I was just wondering about that timing of Asa's marriage to Rex, because I started looking for things that show her character when I saw what she's presented to us now, which I think is of low character. I think there's other ways that Asa could, you know, if his future's fucked, I mean, that is terrible, but if it is, it is. And she needs to be telling police what she knows, but of course she's not talking to police. She was getting a divorce within a week, so I'd say she was lawyered up pretty quickly. She has never spoken with police. How are the DA, etc., saying that she's not related to this case when they've got her DNA, they've got her hair on not just one victim from a period of time, one moment in time, but several victims from several moments in time, and she is capitalizing. Okay, she's hanging around the home. It's as if she's really worried about something there. I mean, I can understand that clinginess, that fear, that need to stay connected to the familiar, even the scary, right? And this is, trauma does this. However, it's just, wow. It does. It just makes you question. And when she's saying things like, it is what it is, in her, you know, very few quotes, but it is what it is. And then she's allowing the debacle to happen because she's being bought. So she's allowing that to happen. She's being chauffeured in a silver Mercedes and taken out in a white SUV. Okay, whatever, but she's gone there. She's made her appearance because it's for the show. It's for $1 million. And she's in the court in Riverhead. She's at the far end of Long Island, and she's come in. Rex, when he's leaving, he sees her and he makes this long eye contact. And of course, Fox News describe it as a slight smile. Ashley Banfield, of course, describes it as a maniacal grin from ear to ear. But what does that smile mean? Is it an uncomfortable smile to someone that she's now free of, that she was afraid of? Was it just some sort of knee-jerk reaction? Was it something, communicating collusion? Was it just, what was it? Of support? Was it saying, I've got you now, you motherfucker, because now I'm free of you? What is it? She's been with him for 27 years. Now, someone has liked to say 25 years, 25 years, 25 years. Could that be her attorney, Robert Macedona? Robert Macedona wants you to know, no, she was pregnant. God, I had to do some heavy math there. She might have been just barely pregnant, and if Victoria was born sort of September, kind of works to be a December baby, right? I'd like to know Victoria's birth date, because I actually thought she was born the year after, in 1997, but it's possible. If it was an early pregnancy, and if she's sort of at the, it's possible that she was pregnant with Victoria, right? So Robert Macedonia, he represents Asa. He doesn't believe, she says she doesn't believe Rex is capable. He doesn't believe he committed these crimes. But she has been shown a fair bit of evidence. She's been shown pictures of Rex buying burner phones. I think she's been shown pictures of like his Craigslist account, right? Recall when Hackett's okay, now this account, yes. These malingerers, these petty party predators, these are the dangerous predators. These predators include people like Harvey Weinstein. Okay, so suddenly they are all grey, they're ashen, aren't they? And they're on walking sticks, they're on oxygen. There are serial killers. One I can't remember, but I remember knowing that his initials are SK, like serial killer. But they're criminal malingerers, like in Delphi, where, people get a little bit wan, don't they? They look ill and they dribble a little bit, right? But they're okay. These are the dangerous people because they are manipulators. They manipulate people. They are narcissists manipulating. They're empathy vampires, okay? And when you see Hackett get the shock of his life because a reporter's behind him and he pretends that his defibrillator, is that what it is? Is that what you're talking about? Goes off, it's, you can see how repulsive these people are, okay? These people are manipulators and they have no shame. There's no, there's no limit. And when I say like Delphi nasties, I actually just mean like, I say this about Richard Allen and they don't believe me. Look at him, look how badly he's treated. I mean, ex-woman, he's complaining to the happy face killer, who's his pen pal now. He's complaining to him about his meals and everything. Well, he's having cream of tomato soup with cheese on toast. He's having beef bourguignon. He's got options. He's eating well in prison, okay? And so is Rick Allen. Rick Allen, I calculated from the alcohol, I calculated over the period of time based on what we could consider he drank, because we pretty much know he had the type of life where he's very social, is either drinking in his driveway beer after work, or he was at, JC's, playing in pool tournaments, etc. And you could calculate 4 to 5 nights a week, certain amount of alcohol, how much weight he would lose from the calories of that alcohol. I calculated at 48 pounds. I think is that 21 kilos? And that's basically about what it looks like he lost. And it's malingering. You don't eat paper, and people are saying, look at him in this vest and shackled and everything. That is a suicide vest. And he's in it because he eats his paperwork, because he smashes his laptop, and because he says he's going to kill himself. And there is a duty of care. And you can Google it. That's what they put on. And in fact, Rex Human, okay, you might see him turning up and he's just got his handcuffs in now. Well, because he's acting mentally stable now, he's acting stable. He's not saying that he has suicidal ideation or ideas of actually doing it, not just thinking about it, like Richard Allen is. That's why he's in that suit. Okay? People, it's just they don't understand a lot of things. And I think people think with, I'm very emotional, but I try to keep that out of when I'm trying to make decisions about true crime, what I think. But people act with their emotions. They make decisions with emotions, with their bias, with their feelings, with their misunderstandings, with their hurts, with their triggers. That's what they're making decisions with. And yeah. Sorry, I'm just ranting away all afternoon. I hope you guys have been having a lovely chat to yourself. I'm sure you have. Yeah, he did look declined. He had lost a lot of weight. However, where he is now, he can have immediate care if he needs it. He can have daily psychological care. He can receive so many more services where he is. I really believe that, and phone keeps putting humanimal. Oh. I know, it's a funny one. Your phone's going, surely you mean human animal. Yeah. But, just to say about that and people's bias or people's emotions and how easy it is to trigger them. And then you say, well, is that what you're using to make decisions about Delphi, about Lisk, about Laurie Vallow, etc.? We are humans. We're Homo sapiens. We come from Neanderthal, some of us, and we've got a long, long history of being animals. We're still animals, and we developed how we are because we can kill other animals and eat flesh, and we ate it raw, and it's very digestible, and it's very tasty, and it's very nutritious. It has everything we need. It doesn't destroy the planet. And one day I ate a raw steak, just a little bit of raw beef, 15% battery, just a little bit of raw beef, and you can see the people who are triggered, and some of it is because they just don't like me and the things that I say, because I like to correct people a lot. Maybe I'm wrong a lot too, but I like to correct people a lot, and they're very triggered, and yet they find that really revolting and disgusting, and it's because it's to prove a point about bias, about what you don't know. What are you uneducated about? What's going to push your buttons? And what revolts you? And is that what you're making a decision about? But is it something that you don't know about your own body that maybe we need to learn? Anyway, this is just crazy. They replaced his laptop. They didn't charge him the $250, and probably because they want him to keep typing away and writing whatever he's writing. I want him to stay safe. I want him to have a fair trial. I hope it goes to trial. I keep wavering because some days I'm so sure that he's going to plea, and others I think, no, he's not going to plea. Yeah. Imagine if Richard Allen was being held at Main Street. These motherfuckers who remember when I said, don't be a muppet and just have people talk, hand up your ass and them talking out of your mouth, because people are being brainwashed so much, right? Because they look, we want due process for Richard Allen, but they're saying there's so much corruption in Delphi that he's being set up. But what? They want him in West Main Street, Delphi, in that little county jail where it holds 30 people and there's sometimes one jailer, and where any of those corrupt people will just walk on in. What are they thinking, right? They can't think things through. Wouldn't he be safer counties away in Westville? It's high security. He's got so many services. He wouldn't get good. Do you think the food's any good at Delphi? 100% not. This is my 1940s hat. This is made from. This is a felt hat, and I've put this little brooch on. The feathers were on this one. I feel like when I put this on, I feel like I really feel like I'm going to solve a crime now. I feel like just move over, Marple. But it seems to this little meddling little mice that, it seems to me that he would be very insecure at Delphi. But they're saying that anyone can get to him because look how the Odins got to him. Odinites are so hilarious. The Odinists have gotten to him, wearing their badges. Hey, maybe wearing those badges sparked it all up again and gave him the idea, because it was March that they started wearing it. In April, he was confessing on the phone and then saying it's the Odinists. But now we've got this, this whole Masonic Lodge thing rearing its ugly head again, right, with BH and Nick McClelland now, being Masonic Lodge best friends, right? So apparently those minerals are terrible. So are these people supporting Ellen, are they Ellenites? They must be. Yeah, the guard patches, look, it is completely hokey, right? It's completely crazy. I know there's weird things at every little 1,000th point, tentacle, if you will. I know there's really discombobulating things. I know there are statements that are crazy. I know there are people that are questionable. But sometimes you just have to go stop and you have to just trust that process. You really do, because guess what? It's not everything. Everything is not happening, I just try to draw on the past and think back to all the examples about all these theories that people have had in the past, like really historic things all up to present day, and then look at what the real truth is. Yeah. Anywho, so I guess I wanted to talk about Asa a little bit more, right? Because you Is she being manipulated by a peacock? Is she a very easily manipulated person by Rex, by peacock? Apparently they have asked the victims' families, and they're just saying, well, we don't want a bar of it. But Asa will. Yeah, is she vulnerable or is she cunning? I think I said what I thought she might think about these missing women, that she really might think, oh, well, hey, tough tit. You know, that's what happens to working girls. Is that what she thinks? You know, we don't know. We don't know what her attitudes are about anything, right? She could think that they are less than human. She really could. Because she's never mentioned them. She hasn't said... Now, I know this is a contentious point too. Do we expect Kathy Allen to come out and say something about the girls? Well, probably no, not really, because, you know, hey, we don't know who bought that tie-dye shirt and what Kathy's advocacy was like or support was like, right? But anyway, that is a well I don't want to dive into just now anyway either. But yeah, did Asa think they got what they asked for? She's talking about everything is destroyed, and she's making pleas for her normalcy. What about the lack of normalcy that these families have not had since a dozen years earlier, right? And she's shoving it in their faces, turning up at this court appearance for the first time. Her lawyer says just to see what's happening. No, because it's part of your $1 million contract. Her lawyers, her children's lawyers, they will be getting a lot of money from this. This Robert Macedonia is making bank. And, you know, she's very upset by this deep search of her home, and not this deep search for these women who've been in her home, and now she's at her home. And this is after Melissa G. Moore has raised for Asa $60,000 on a GoFundMe. She can afford to go and stay at a hotel on Long Island or in New York City. She probably wants to stay in Long Island, you know? But she wants everyone out of her street. She wants to go back to normal. She wants her house back. She thinks she's just going to live her normal life. Leave me alone. Take my husband. See you later. Nothing to see here. Well, it makes me wonder, Asa, what is to see there? Yeah. She should be crapping herself that charges are coming her way, because they really might be. And she's putting herself in danger because in a way she's going to, you know, she's teetering around that. What's your amendment? Well, you know, your right to silence. You know, she's walking a wavy line. If she's going to be having these film crews with her and everything. So it's just, it's crazy. But, you know, I don't want people to think that I can't immerse myself one way and see that she could have lived, you know, nearly 30 years of trauma, or, you know, yeah, a lot of terrible situations turning into a really dramatic, life-altering, never going to be the same, moved into another dimension event. But I'm just struggling with it. She's not raising money for the community so that there is an actual rehab center for girls that might want to get off drugs and stop sex work so that their, mortgages can be paid another way, and, right? Anyway, sorry, I'm starting to really ramble again. Commissioner Harrison, who is now retired, quite sadly apparently, he says, Asa probably had no idea. And then I love it. He says, but time will tell. So this account, I have seen comments where people have said, I cancelled my Peacock instantly. Yeah. But of course people are going to watch it. And who am I going to kid? I watched the Laurie Vello one. I think I watched something on Chris Watts and Nikki Kessinger. Yeah. So Melissa G. George. Okay, so she's the Happy Face Killer's daughter. She set up a GoFundMe. Initially, she'd set it up. They wanted to raise $25,000. She said that this is to, she wants to raise money for Asa to start a new life. And, I think there's a lot of, I'm sort of projecting onto you myself, right? But I think she's dealing with a very different creature here. I think she's dealing with a very different creature. So Melissa is the daughter of Keith Hunter Jesperson, and he's a very disturbing person, and he was married, had his daughter. It wasn't going very well, and they divorced, I think, in 1990, and after that he began a serial killing career. But before that, he'd had quite the career since he was 5 years old for murdering animals. So he was the son of an abusive alcoholic who actually was quite proud of his son when he would torture animals. In front of Melissa one time, there were, because he would kill stray animals. They lived on the side, there was an orchard to the side of their house, and so there's dogs coming across, cats, there's bird life there. He would just kill everything willy-nilly, torture it and kill it. So he had these kittens. The way she described it, it was that he strung them up on the clotheslines. So I imagine that he's actually pegging them up by their scruffs, right? And in front of little Melissa, she's about 5 years old, she runs inside, she goes to get her mother. So maybe this was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, for the divorce. But she brings her mother out, and the kittens are on the ground. They're clawing at each other, just trying to get away, but they're so distressed. And he just kills them. He kills them in front. And, it's just so sadistic. So she has contacted Asa. They've met in person. I've seen photographs, of them meeting, and she's this poor beautiful girl, because you feel like as much as she knows and as much as she has had to learn about the world that you really don't want to know, should be thankful you don't know if you don't know, she's had to live it. And she's acting out of, I hope she's acting out of compassion. I think she is. But what must she think about her father contacting Rex? But she's trying to help Asa, because maybe she sees here, well, here's a person that was living a life and didn't know that there was this other life going on. Honey, you did. Your father was killing things in front of you. You knew, but you were treasuring moments when he would take you in his truck. And what he was really doing was driving you past burial sites. He claims hundreds of people. I think he's in prison for 8. The happy face killer. So it's the happy face killer. What dubbed him the happy face killer was there was a woman that was wanting to get rid of a husband that she didn't particularly like. Maybe he was mean to her. I don't remember the story, but I do remember that she took details that she had gleaned from reports and things, and she contacted police and she dobbed in this man that she didn't like. This account won't not watch because you have integrity, darling, and some of us just don't. We're just too curious. And I have maybe no morals like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not ethical. Am I? Maybe. Well, I won't watch. I don't have Peacock, and I don't buy these things. I won't get to see it. But she dobbed in somebody saying that, you know, trying to add in these details because she wanted him away, and she put this guy away for revenge. It's quite funny, really. And so the serial killer, who Dr. John, I call him Dr. Hidden, and Lauren said one day that she liked that, we might keep that, but it never caught on. They do want media attention. They want to be known for how, they want to be known for their deeds. It's so gross. Control, domination, thrill-seeking, media attention. And so he wrote on a truck stop wall and put a smiley face, so he's known as the happy face killer, and he was writing in. So many people write in to police, and he was, and he's been convicted of 8 murders, but he's boasted of killing 100 or something like that. And his daughter Melissa has fundraised for Asa so she can start a new life. Asa doesn't seem to want to start a new life. Asa seems to want to stay put, which is really weird. And so Jesperson wrote to Rex, and apparently Rex has written back, and they're discussing things like just meals. So you have to wonder. So he's written to Rex, and his advice is, I advise you to confess. I mean, do you think he sees a kindred spirit? Do you think he sees someone that he thinks he can have? You know, they put the sex offenders often into pods or whatever together, and it's kind of crazy because they do get to talk about grooming techniques. They get to talk, they get to reminisce, and they get to, it's pretty sick, really. And, you know, you think, is he looking for someone that now he really feels will understand his soul and his deepest, darkest thoughts? If you weren't guilty, wouldn't you just be repulsed? Would you write back? It's crazy. That's crazy. It is interesting in the searches that, and these are McGoogles. He's not on the dark web. He's not on the deep web. I know. I'm shook. But I guess the victims' families have suffered for so long, and then finally someone, and the wife wants to make $1 million. I mean, that won't be her in-pocket expenses, I'm sure, but look, it's tricky because you know that you'd just be feeling like, what's my future and everything, but you would look at so many other ways, wouldn't you? She can sell that house, okay, so I would hope after, hopefully they have a whole lot of equity in that Massapequa house. It's owned outright. And if she can clean it up, maybe the value, it's the murder house now, right? But the city council, David Pearl, the mayor, will buy it off her. There's a few $100,000. She could invest that. It's not $1 million, but it's not blood money. And then she can work out what else she can do with other properties. And then he's got his business. It's closed down. The website's gone, but there must be something. There must be other assets. There's something. Just work it out. Why is this? So, is she so vulnerable? Is she such a pitiful figure? Or, is she sly? Is she sly because she knows? I just can't get over that April wedding, And maybe that was the plan all along. Were they engaged? What sort of wedding? I need to know more. We need to know more. But wasn't it? Yeah. I find it interesting. And those are the things I find interesting. Yeah. Well, I think so. I think there's an amount of calls that he can make a day. And, if you've got the stamps, you can send a letter. Yeah. And it is. It's blood money. I just find it such poor taste, such bad judgment. It just sends so many messages that are so wrong, right? Yeah. Oh, hey. Hang 3. And then we'll finish up. Pretty weird, how a phone battery 10% at the end of its life is a really short time frame. But 10%, we've got 90 is a heap. Right? Some 5 there we go. Yeah, it is so bizarre. And so they've bought what they call artifacts. So this is that's how because you can't profit from crime, and that's how Casey Anthony was paid. She did these interviews and things, but the money was for providing photos, never before seen photos and things like that, right? Yeah. Oh, hey, Mark. He's always got his shades on. Must be such a dude, eh? So there were a few little things I was trying to wrap up. I will get to the end of this presentation if this is what it is eventually, right? Because she didn't go to stay with her father, Flores. I don't know what his situation is, right? She didn't have a hotel. Did she have no money at all? Could no one help her with a hotel? Could police, anything, anyone, right? And even neighbors, because they were such weird people to the neighbors, she just was sleeping in her car. But maybe she wanted to stay away to protect her family. I think I said that. But then she wasn't visiting Rex. She didn't attend his court hearings. I think she had been having phone calls with him. She gets this deal. Sherry Gilbert, whose remains, the sister of Shannan, Sherry, she expressed her disgust over the deal. She says she's disappointed, disgusted, flabbergasted, frustrated. She said, sorry, it's just the light. The way the media will buy stories to further re-victimize, re-traumatize, and exploit the families and victims of serial killers is evil. Yeah. She's paid a licensing fee. She has no creative control. And, the victims of the families declined. Go fucking figure. And then John Ray had some really choice things to say. Sorry, I'm just a really weird person who fusses about this. I should really just not. Sorry. Very fidgety. If I'm not stimming, I can't. If I'm not, I just have to. I can't just. So, John Ray's the Gilbert family attorney. We've talked about him a lot. He did not appear surprised by the deal Ellerup agreed to with this streaming giant. He said, "The woman is a ghoul feeding on the dead who were murdered by the head of her family. She's a grave risk taker, just like her husband, with whom she conspires and has so through the years, continuing to do so even now for more lucre," he told dailymail.com. He said, "She risks her own legal deconstruction by words she speaks to her filmmakers. She may forfeit more than she is making for the moment, including her liberty. The hunger for money most often does wreak havoc for the greedy. The victims' families are appalled. We look forward to the day Asa Ellerup is brought to the bar of justice." Okay, so he's a very dramatic guy, and he's not holding back. And, we must be measured about this as well, because I think what we've seen, and we're seeing this clearly with Delphi, if we can say that, we see this clearly. People go bang or bang. You're here or you're there, right? You're here or you're there. And I mean, is this John Ray? I mean, is he a version of Baldwin? Is it, do you just take what he's saying and go, yeah, she's a ghoul, I don't know. If I found that quote after I decided that I think that she's quite a piece of work, maybe a sociopath. I mean, I don't know by definition sociopath, but, you can't just say, let's have a look into that. Oh, he says that. And then I shouldn't just say, yes, that's what she is. She's a ghoul. You need to not get swept up, right? So, and then, so I thought, I've got to look up John Ray. And he's on Nancy, he's done some things on Nancy Grace. It's $1 million. Yeah, $1 million. And various amounts of it, large amounts of it will be going. I mean, your children have one lawyer who looks like he looks like a wannabe John Ray, a baby Ray. Yeah, he looks like a baby Ray. He's dressing all spivvy. But, they'll get a cut. The lawyers will get a cut. But has she been told, you've got to think about you, babe. You've got to think about your future. You've got to think about your son, who is never going to be fully independent. Her son's on disability. I don't know what it is in New York State. Some states, their disability might only be a few $100s. I've some research tells me he might be getting $3,000 a month, but he does look like a bit. Fran, go forth and use that. Whenever you see Ves Matev, I've put here he's a sartorial Ray wannabe. But yeah, baby Ray, I think, is even better, isn't it? So you just keep improving your own material, don't you? So, yeah, so I found he'd been on Nancy Grace, I don't know how old or not this is, talking about the witness to do with Karen Vergada, and this February 1996 swingers party at Massapequa Park on First Avenue with Rex and Asa. So Asa's lawyer Macedonia says, no way Asa would swing. She was pregnant. And I don't know about, I think that actually, in a strange way, it gives credence. Okay, so I did write something down here. What was this? Got some funny notes that I found. I'll just read them because, look, let's just go the whole hog. So the ones that I wanted to read last were, I did want to mention some other victims that were found. We don't know whose victims, but they are murder victims out at Gilbert Beach. But I've written Asa, Club La Trapeze. Yeah, and okay. So this is just where I was wondering about the marriage. Because Asa, acting like she's got no options. And is that what we don't know what her MO is, and we don't know what she was ever like acting with Rex and who was manipulating who and why. And we know people that do terrible things, that are serial killers. They like to have this mask on, and Rex may not have liked it, but he may have thought, well, yeah, maybe a wife and a family is a good idea. Maybe he'd been with Asa for a little while and it was just quite a regular thing. Her and her son and him, and why not? It's a mask. But maybe she just blackmailed him a little bit because she wasn't in a good position. It's really funny. It's really hard to find information on her, whether she's, a nurse at a Jewish memorial hospital, or whether she's a special needs teacher. Maybe that's arisen because of her son, or what. She's a bit of an enigma. Yeah, and sorry, I just need to read this now because I don't know what this says. Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's not just that one witness incident saying that, Asa is involved with swinging and it's at the home, because I think this is John Ray that came up with something that he's saying that it was quite common that people would go back with them to their home at Massapequa Park, and maybe Asa would just disappear. People keep saying upstairs. Now this bothers me, because is there an upstairs to this home? I don't think so, but maybe just disappears to her Yeah, Victoria worked at the firm. She's 26. Look, I know this account. Hi, Carissa. I know. I don't want to be victimizing or re-victimizing or abusing or dissing a woman that has been in this tough situation, but not every woman is in that. I mean, it's hard to fathom, right? But not everybody is right in the head, and life is very transactional, and if you feel differently, empathy-wise, I know it's true in Australia anyway. The people that I've met that are from countries like Serbia, Croatia, war-torn countries, and that there's some very damaged souls, generation. They're very lost, and it's very difficult households and everything, and it does something to a person. And often, even if they weren't there at all, they've got dissociation and everything. And I don't know, we don't know Asa's history and how she's ended up with Rex. Was she there because she was a sex worker initially? We hear of the woman whose mortgage needed to be paid. It was overdue. She was going to be evicted by the bank. She'd gone back to sex work. Was that Asa's situation? We don't know who Sheridan is, this father of Christopher, and what support he ever gave financially, and but is that the situation? Because Rex has lived an open swinger life with other people, right? Policemen and other people, and he's taken a lot of people back. If some reports are known, he's taken a lot of people back to the home, and Asa's been there. And apparently on one occasion she accused one woman of stealing her iron. She went out to the car that was taking the woman away and accused her of stealing the iron. Yeah. She's possibly, the wife of a sociopathic, narcissistic, sadistic person. How do you cope? Is there a contract? Was she a beard? Did she make a deal? I just can't stop thinking she makes a deal. People just say they just always seem depressed, they were cheerless. The whole family were just cheerless. That Rex is cold, distant, remote, rude, dismissive, adversarial. And Dr. John says that it seems that he would be depressed. And it seems like there isn't warmth and joy, and you can see it on someone's face. Have they been mostly joyful, or is it, I don't know. You wonder about their self-worth. And Dr. John thinks about Dolores, the mum who's still alive. She's 93. Was she cold and controlling? What is it about the absent father, this unresolved grief? And that was another thing I wanted to, this was my other little, was with these images being searched for these children of a certain age. It's the age that Rex lost his father. Is he frozen in time there? Is so complicated. Could he even describe it himself, the reasons for doing things? But Dr. John of Hidden True Crime says, is this beyond depression and moving into unresolved grief? and really that he just must be filled with so much rage. He talked in that interview, he talked about patience, having patience, you know, and remember, whomever saw that video with the French guy, he talked about going to City Hall. He had to wait to, you know, go and see someone and push something through, and he was made to wait 7.5 hours. And, you know, whilst Rex is talking about patience to this guy, you know, Dr. John is saying, can you just imagine that seething rage? Yeah. And then taking it all out on the sex workers. Just imagine going from that sense of being just disrespected, and that's taking that seething rage and just that sense of potency then that he will have. Yeah. And then this person, this learned person, Robert Simon, talking about serial killers, says, you know, what they are damaged individuals that they've got a core of self-loathing, and there's just this emotional deadness, and that does seem to be what people are describing about Rex, and even about, you know, the family in general. It's a bit sad, and it's the only way he can feel normal is getting that relief through killing. It's so heinous. Oh, it's awful. But, you know, this family, you know, and the son must be so confused, the stepson, just trying to walk his dog, and his daughter has worked with him. I really want to know. I want to know, what does she know? So lastly, and thank you for your patience, you are amazing, absolutely. Why did I write this? Because I think I talked about this. Dr. Hackett, he would talk about the home for wayward girls. He called Marie Gilbert. Why? To buy time to cover for someone else. She was not far from Oak Beach homes. Difficult terrain. Would someone nearby risk killing and leaving? Yeah, I think I said that. Yeah. So, and then I just thought, out of respect, you know, just talk about some of these other people that were found, because it angers a lot of people too, that after the Gilgo 4 were found, they, you know, police just didn't keep searching. I guess maybe they didn't know that there was a reason. Oh, thank you, this account. Thank you for understanding, because I totally get that. Any little snippet could be taken, and if I don't say these things, I mean, for people that know me and know that I'm always measuring up, and you know, I'm not, anyway, but, you know, it could be just taken as, wow, you're just so unfeeling and so judgmental. So, yeah, I'm not trying to be that at all, so thank you. Right. So we know that people have been getting calls, right? Melissa Barthelomew's sister Amanda, Mari Gilbert, the mother of Shannan. Well, that's not where it ended. So Sarah Carnes, and I think it said Carnes because it's spelled like Barnes but with a K. She's a friend of Maureen's, so Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and she is the one out of the 4 that he's just a prime suspect for at the moment. After Maureen's disappearance, she received phone calls from a man saying Maureen was staying at a whorehouse in Queens. So we know that's Rex's vernacular. Queens is when you leave Long Island and you start going into New York. Queens is, I think, one of the suburbs you first hit, and maybe then, yeah. Staying in a whorehouse in Queens. And so, of course, Sarah is beside herself. Her friend's missing, and she's begging this person, this man, to say, where? Which one? How do you know? Begging for information. And he goes, look, I'll get back to you with the information. He hangs up and he never rings back. That's just so heinous. We mentioned Jimmy Burke, of course, who did nothing with the hulking man green Chevy testimony, who could really have followed up Amber's disappearance more quickly. So we've got Peaches. Now, Peaches, it's really weird because I don't know why I've written for her June 28, 1997 as a disappearance date. And actually Rex is being investigated for disappearances starting in 1986. And there are a lot of highway murders. There's murders in New Jersey. There's murders. He could be someone that has killed 100 people. He really could. So these people, so for example, I think is it Maureen, that's known as Jane Doe 6. Peaches is known as Jane Doe 3. I think Peaches was African American. She was named Peaches because there was a tattoo of the fruit on her breast, her left breast. Her torso was found first, I think. And nearer where another of the girls was found, actually, a toddler was found, and they were found at different times. The toddler's thought to be between 16 and 24 months old, and believed not to have been physically abused. And they're not sure of the cause of death, though. And eventually, DNA testing showed that this baby was Peach's baby. This baby wasn't even, it was just discarded away from its mother. I just find that just so terrible. Now, this was interesting as well. I don't know, I just write these random notes, but that guy, the other person that rang, so the person that rang 911 as well as Shannan, Coletti, he rang up and said it was a 14-year-old girl's just knocked on my door. So that shows you that these petite girls, they had this particular very youthful look, right? And I just found it so poignant as well that both Peaches and the baby were wearing jewelry. I think the baby had gold earrings and a gold necklace, and Peaches had gold jewelry. And yeah, so nice to you, Jaldo. So the other people were, because the Gilgo 4 were found in 2010 because of Shannan Gilbert, because someone was searching for her. And then the search sort of stopped, and it could have been resources, it could have been a reason why, I don't know. But then they did return in 2011, kept looking. They found Jessica Taylor, they found Valerie Mack. Oh, and I think I think the toddler might have been found near Valerie Mack, actually. And she was also known as Melissa Taylor, and she went missing April the 4th, 2011, and then she was found in 2011. But I wonder if she was pretending to be a sister or something. I don't know. It's just a weird connection, isn't it? Then there was an Asian male, and he was in his 20s. He was found wearing women's clothing and had a possible skeletal deformity, which may have affected his gait, and this could make him someone that hopefully people would recognize or know of if they heard that detail. So, you know, having an unusual gait, youngish, so maybe in his 20s, and 5'6". And then, of course, Karen Vergada. And Karen Vergada, partial remains were found in April 1996. But in 2011, in 2000, the year 2000, in Tobay Beach, which is just sort of, I think, around the Oak Beach area of that Gilgo Beach area, her skull was found, and then she was ID'd officially in 2022, funnily, when they started investigating Rex, and publicly announced as Karen Vergada in 2023. This will be when photos came out, and I think this must be quite new, when, you know, John Ray has maybe vetted this person talking about going to Rex's and seeing Asa. Yeah, that's right. The policeman, it wasn't a police, he was a narcotics officer or something like that. Okay, and then I've just written John Bittrolf. So he's another serial killer that was active on Long Island area. He was arrested in 2014 in Manorville, and Manorville is said to be where some of the remains were found, but that's actually sort of up on the mainland, so I don't really understand it. It's not water, it's not touching water, but it's interesting that Manorville serial killer was one of the searches that Rex was doing, and he was a hunter just like Rex, and he was a carpenter, and he was convicted in 2017 of the murder of 2 sex workers. Their bodies were dismembered in a very precise manner, and he's thought to have a possible third victim. But of course there could be more, right? And one victim, now here's a connection, and it's interesting because, I mean, Rex could have just been looking up other killers on Long Island, but there's a connection to his alleged victims. One victim, Rita Tangredi, her daughter was friends with Melissa Bartholomew. And the daughter, and Melissa I've written it like this, god darn it, I hate it when I'm not succinct. Her daughter was friends with Melissa Bartholomew, who made a lot of calls to Manorville prior to her death. So was Melissa Bartholomew ringing Manorville prior to her death? I mean, I think it's very, very, I think it's quite mixy, even though I'm sure the police, hopefully they know, they're in investigation, hopefully they've got more proof. They've got proof of these girls being at this Massapequa home or something, you know, that doesn't leave it murky, because it seems like there's several people that could have killed a few of these girls. It's so creepy. The other victim was Colleen McNamara, and they went missing in 93 and 94. And he was actually convicted because of DNA, because his brother was arrested for something heinous. Yeah, so that's the little presentation about it. And then now that we have talked about that in Oak Beach, and you know about Shannan Gilbert's desperate run through Oak Beach, only to end up in the marshes northeast, right outside the boundaries of this community. Now you can go and re-listen to the thing that I linked in my community page by this guy Nathan, who's talking about his theory of this pedophile priest. So this is the last thing, guys, so thank you for sticking with me. I'll wrap it up, but so this is the last little thing that I wanted to link together was, so Alan Placker, so he's also a lawyer, but he's a Catholic priest, and he's been around the Long Island area forever. And this guy, he posits that he knew the Human family and is connected to Dr. Hackett and to, I can't even read my own writing, but yeah, and he's saying that he also has a house at Oak Beach, but this Alan Placker guy is this absolutely abusive pedophile, and Nathan thinks was Rex abused. The Moore chap that I was Jesperson, not Jesperson, I don't know. The happy face killer. He's also saying that he was abused, raped at 14 years old. And it does kind of seem to be a theme with serial killers, but anyway, he's linking it to Rudy Giuliani, being friends, all these allegations being made of a lot of abuse and no charges being put forth, but lawsuits going ahead. But of course this lawyer priest has managed to make everybody bankrupt, so the church can't pay is so repulsive. But that's something to look up. Nathan Adams. So you'll find that in the community page. Of course, I just woke up. It's 8 a.m. there. All right. And yes, Dr. G explains. Yes, I like him. I wrote to him when Erin Patterson was, I said, hi, just got to tell you, the mushroom lady's been arrested. He goes, oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I love him. And he's got there's a very interesting take on the Rex interview with the French interviewer. The French interviewer. All right, okay, I'll have a look at that. Beautiful. Antonio, this is a true crime discussion. Hi, Fluffy Bunny. Oh my God. You are going to be one of the lucky ones that when you go back, if you do want to join in this discussion in retrospect, you get to listen at 2.0. So you're lucky. So we've been talking about, the situation with Rex Human, the murders on Long Island, and just a couple of things that I wanted to bring up about these victims and Rex Human's wife. So I'm just scrolling quickly through. Oh, this account says, hello, Erin Dawson. Hi. Yeah, so it's a Peacock documentary. It won't be out for a while, I imagine, because it's to follow her while Rex goes on trial. So this could be quite a long time in the making. But of course, it's just a licensing agreement. It's just for, buying, photos and the likes, right? Yeah. Yes. Just quickly scroll. Anyway. All right. Well, someone from gaming. Hi. I'm glad I missed that spam. All right. Yeah, it's definitely time to go, isn't it, Humanimals? So thank you for being here. And Cause has got a cool wolf pack. Yeah, so everybody will see each other around the traps. Where is all the good news about this going to come from? I don't know. I'll be trying to watch the good news stations and avoiding News Nation because, of course, Ashley Banfield has to paint it as a wild maniacal grin. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your participation, chatting very beautifully to each other. Throwing things back at me, it makes it so much easier to sit here for 3 hours. She is horrid, Fran. I mean, she, it's kind of the nature of the beast a little bit because TV flatlined, and of course these multimedia organisations saw, well, it's all happening over here. I mean, this is where we get our news, right? And this is where we trust our news. So they've infiltrated. So now we get crap news again, right? And we've got to, and we get manipulation again, right? And we get propaganda. So we don't need that. Oh, thank you. I just had no idea. And I just threw this on. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been, it's good to do a bit of a review as well. Because, you'll say something that I can't remember or didn't, that will sound, oh, wow, now that I think about it, and I might give you a little bit of information that you think you didn't know that, or it's a way of thinking of something, and you can sort of, start sort of trying to work out how you feel about something, what your decisions are about what you think about it, right? It's quite funny, really. It's ironic, isn't it, when Baldwin's saying, come on, investigative journalists, where are you? But of course, I don't think he really meant it, sort of thing, but he's quite right. I remember the news when I was a child, many decades ago. It would be a half-hour news slot. You would have 2 news items, thorough, in-depth, and I loved it. You'd sit there and you'd watch them. I'd do roly-polies in front of the TV for the news presenter that I liked, and you'd get this in-depth talk about Prime Minister Peggy Muldoon, we used to call him, and what's going on, and what's happening with this big political situation. Then they have a little break and they might have a light story, and then they'd have another 15 minutes of in-depth news coverage of a story, right? And now you just get these things scrolling across the bottom of your screen while they talk crap. Oh, thank you. Oh, no, but thank you so much. Oh, I do like to hear it though, but thank you. And there's Zucchini 360 coming from Planet Google-on. Yeah, well, we all live on Planet Google-on, don't we? I think it's become our common language, isn't it? Yeah, I haven't had a TV for years, and I love watching film. I love going to the movies. It's one of my favorite things. And of course, I have a little bit of, it's like crack, isn't it? I have a bit of addiction to YouTube. And when my phone breaks, that's distressing in some ways, but it's really good in others, because that's when I say, well, I just can't see what's going on. And really, the world doesn't end. Yeah. Sometimes I would like TV on, though. I'd like to just have it playing there while a little soap. Oh my God, this account, no, I wish, look, I've got to stop cutting my own hair. I need to just, I used to always do my hair. I used to always have, I don't know, and little outfits, and I was half the size and everything sort of fit, and you could just be quite creative with your clothing. The movies are, what have I seen lately? Oh, I was enthralled, actually. It made me cry, and it was just so base. It was the one about the AI, the creator, and then I just got sucked in. It was so, but because I'm very emotional like that. And yeah, people should go to the big screen as often as possible. Quite often you can be on your own in there, but it's quite the experience. You're not justifying your cable bill, Mark. Oh, yeah. That's good. You're not watching a lot of golf. Yeah. But no, it's just nice. It's nice to go out. You sit in the big comfy seat. They put their feet up. Sometimes, if you feel like splashing out, you can order wine and have, nibbles brought into you. I always just buy snacks, and half the size. No, if you look at my videos from when I started uploading on this channel, I was much, it's quite slim. But that's all right. It's not important, really, is it? But it does depress me. Yeah, it really depresses me. Smuggle wine. Oh, yeah. I'm a smuggler. I'm definitely a smuggler. Golf and hockey clips on YouTube. I thought you were saying you were going to play it. Mark plays golf. I love going to the whack range, where you just go out to you can go out and just on the practice range and just whack the balls out into oblivion. You feel like they're going 200 meters and it lands on 80, but it's quite cool. Yeah. Yes, the driving range, that's the one. Yeah, we've got a good driving range here. Oh, thank you. Yes, crazy golf. I don't like putt-putt so much. I like 10-pin bowling. I don't mind that, but I never do it. But really, what I really like is to go surfing or to go motorcycle riding. And at the moment, I don't do either of them. And those meditative things. And because I don't run now as well, I need to just start running. This account is prone to falling. So no ice skating or hockey. One of my little nephews, and he's not little because he's 6 foot, he is a very good ice hockey player in Canada. Yeah. He's really good. Driving ranges are awesome. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about it. And like, I used to love going boxing, kickboxing. I used to do boot camps. Yeah, got to get back into it. It's just really hard to get back into running and things when you've stopped for several years. Yeah. Well, my goodness, it's been 3 hours and 13 minutes, 3 hours, 14 minutes. So, for some of you, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Who's depressed? Oh, me. Yeah, I know, but I am. But that's okay. I used to be very athletic. Yeah, I used to be. My family's athletic. Yeah, just natural athletes. My other little nephew is a good tennis player, a good soccer player. My dad was a good rugby player, and that's proper rugby. That is not American rugby where you have a hat and padding. But it's not league. So there's rugby union, which is a thugs game played by gentlemen, and then there's rugby league, which is a gentleman's game played by thugs, as we say. Anyway, thank you for the chat, everybody. No softball this year. I really should. I should have. I didn't. I'm not. I couldn't. But I would love. I'd love to just say. And now, and I've got a I've got a fucked up finger. Probably see. Anyway, sorry. Let's all do something nice and good for ourselves and something for someone else maybe in the coming 24 hours. So something you've been putting off for yourself that you want to do, please do that. And maybe, I don't know, it's so nice doing a little random act of something. Send a little message to something, put a card onto someone's door, order some flowers, give someone a compliment. Yeah, no excuses crying in the sun. Yeah, no, sorry about that, Causa, but self-care is so important, and it's a really yeah, it's a tough one. And self-care are things like, do try to keep up with it's little things. Depends how bad you're getting. But, obviously sometimes it's a struggle for people to even just care for themselves, right? But self-care can be anything from just making sure you create a nice atmosphere in your home or just in your bedroom with some music, some lighting. Give time to relax, meditate, self-massage, breathe. Self-care can be, doing that hour in the gym. Could be running away to the movies, going for a bike ride. But it's also things like making sure, and this is sometimes the hard thing for people that are struggling, is keeping up with things that have to be done to keep life operating, and not being overwhelmed by that, and just having just doing things incrementally, but making you're doing something regularly so that you're not getting really big and overwhelmed. Yes, let's send some sunshine. That's a song. I won't start singing now because that would just end it. I could get out my ukulele. Hey, maybe I'll start playing my ukulele again. But chill music, fresh air, sunshine, a Jack Russell and a fluffy cat. That's beautiful, Causa. I adore Jack Russells and I adore cats, and this is the first time in my life I haven't had a cat, and it's really hard because don't tell the dog, I'm actually a cat person. Yeah, but it is what it is, as Asa would say. And on that note, thank you so much. You guys are all just the specialist. You know what I mean? It means a lot that you show up and you've been here. I'm really pleased that I just did this. I wanted to get this out there, this basis for any other talks now that we can have now, right? We can talk about now what we think about all these nitty-gritties and that minutiae of things, or any things that happen in real time now, because the dog he's a Jack Russell. Of course he does. Of course he does. And don't let him near holes. Yeah, Jack Russells are amazing, but you gotta, they need work. They need stuff to do. You gotta, yeah, or they will create it themselves. And they are very smart. They are very smart. But now we've got a basis now, right? So now I feel like I can just jump on and just go something about this case without explaining things and everything, because we've got a good foundation. And 18. Oh wow. Oh, she's doing very well. My Rocky, he's carnival dog, he's 14. Yeah, it's hard when they start getting older. Anywho. Goodbye. And thank you so much. And yeah, I'm glad I did this now. And I wasn't sure if I was just going to hang up halfway through or 5 minutes in, and you've all kept me going. So thank you. And yeah, we'll speak soon. But, you know, I'm really interested in any feedback about what you think. About Asa and her decisions and her motives and her knowledge and her situation. Take care, everybody. I'm going to hit